There is a person you have never met, who has quietly shaped every romance of your life, who decides in a single second across a crowded room that this stranger and no other is the one, who authors your most helpless longing and your most baffling, inexplicable heartbreak. You have never once seen their face, and you carry them with you into every room you have ever entered. Because here is the thing almost no one ever realizes: you have never actually fallen in love with a person. You have fallen in love with a figure, one you have carried inside you since childhood, and mistaken every single time for someone else. Carl Jung gave that inner figure a name. In a man, the Anima, his own inner image of woman. In a woman, the Animus, her inner image of man. Two of the deepest foundation stones, he said, of the entire psyche. And though he framed it by gender, the truer name is simply the inner other, the opposite that you carry within, whoever you happen to be, and whoever it is that you love. You were born with a slot for it, empty, shaped like a longing before you had anyone to long for, and you have spent your whole life quietly filling it in. First, with the giants of your childhood, your mother, your father, the first faces of love and of fear you ever knew, the parent you adored, the one who hurt you, the very first heartbreak that quietly set the mold for all the rest. And then the culture poured itself in on top. The songs, the screens, 1,000 borrowed pictures of a real man, a real woman. All of it melted down and fused into one single secret image. And woven through all of it, the most important thread of all, every quality of that otherness, the softness, the boldness, the fire, that you, yourself, were never once allowed to become. So the figure is not, in truth, a person out there in the world. It is a half of you, in here, an entire half of yourself that you never once got to live. And that image has a fixed shape, which explains something you have felt for years and never understood. Why, across wildly different people, you keep falling for the same one, the same eyes, the same wound. Your type is simply the figure's silhouette, and it does not sit quietly inside you. It goes looking. It waits, patiently, its entire life, for someone real enough to hang itself upon. And this, precisely this, is what falling in love actually is. Someone walks in who is close enough, the right eyes, a gesture, a voice that happens to fit the shape of the figure, and your inner figure leaps out and lands upon them like a film thrown onto a screen, and suddenly they are radiant, fated. You feel in your whole body that you knew them long before you ever met. It is the very same figure that has always visited your dreams, the unknown lover, the faceless stranger you wake aching for. By daylight, it simply finds a living face to wear. So in a strange, real way, you did already know them. You have carried them your entire life. Love at first sight is not the recognition of a stranger. It is the recognition of yourself, projected onto a stranger. So notice quietly what has really happened here. You know almost nothing about this person, and yet you are certain. You feel you can see straight into their soul. You cannot. You are seeing your own soul image lit up across their face. And the less you truly know them, the more perfectly it holds. And notice, too, who the figure so often quietly resembles, the parent who first cast it, so that without ever knowing, you reach again for a version of the very person who first taught you what love was. And here, quietly, is where it turns dangerous, because now You begin to demand that they be the figure. You need them to feel what it feels, want what it wants, complete you the way only a lost half of yourself ever could. And when they act like the actual separate human being that they are, you feel it in your chest as a betrayal. But they have betrayed nothing. You are not really angry that they failed you. You are angry that they are not the ghost. So every deep love arrives sooner or later at the very same cliff. The projection begins to thin, the screen turns translucent, and the real person shows through, smaller, stranger, far more flawed than the God you fell for. And this is the moment most people call falling out of love. The spark is gone. They changed. It was never real. But nothing false ever happened, and nothing has actually died. The projection simply wore off, exactly as in time it always must, and left you standing before an actual breathing human being for the very first time. The disillusionment is not the end of love. It is the end of the fantasy, and the first true chance at the real thing. Miss that moment, and you do the one truly fatal thing. You decide the person was wrong instead of the projection. And you set off again in search of the next screen. And you find one. The lightning strikes all over again. And it wears off all over again, because it always does. And you can spend an entire life chasing the figure from face to face, never once suspecting that the figure is you. And it does not only run in love. When the figure is not thrown outward, it turns and it runs you from within. It becomes the muse who hands you the idea, and the cold inner critic who says the work is worthless, the mood you cannot explain, the rigid, righteous certainty you would defend to the death. The exiled half does not vanish. It possesses you, or it hunts for someone to wear. So here is the turn. The love you have been chasing your entire life, the perfect one, the one who would finally complete you, is not out there. It never once was. So hear this as clearly as it can possibly be said. You do not fall in love with a person. You fall in love with the half of yourself you left behind, and every partner is only the screen you play it on, which means the wholeness you keep seeking in another can only ever be borrowed, rented from a screen, and it always comes due. So real love is not finding the person who matches the figure. There is no such person. There never will be. Real love begins the moment the figure drops, and you choose to stay anyway. And the work is not to find your other half. It is to take the projection back. To ask, when someone dazzles you, what quality am I seeing in them that I have never once allowed myself to live? Their freedom, their softness, their nerve. That is not their gift to hand you. It is your own exiled half, standing in the dark, waving and waiting to be let back in. So grow it in yourself, until you stop demanding a partner be the parts of you that you abandoned, until you can finally see them not as your missing half, not as a god who failed you, but as a separate, real, unrepeatable person, which is the only thing any of us has ever truly longed for, to be loved as. And then something quietly changes. The figure, no longer starved, no longer flung onto every passing face, stops being a desperate craving, and slowly becomes a guide. The inner other you stopped chasing outside turns at last into wisdom within. The stranger you have chased across every romance of your life was never in a single one of those rooms. They were the half of you, waiting in the dark for you to come home and finally live them. You came here to understand love. Leave knowing that the person you have been searching for, your entire life, has your face. See what people hide, even from themselves.